Walks like an animal, talks like an animal, must be an animal. Come hear the animals, talking animals, talking animals. It walks like an animal, talks like an animal, must be an animal. Come hear the animals, talking animals, talking animals.
Good morning, this is Talking Animals on WMNF. I'm Duncan Strauss. My guest today is Adam Sugalski, who leads the efforts of Bear Defenders, a coalition of individuals, groups, and organizations dedicated to ending bear hunting across the United States. While Bear Defenders often pursues a broader mission to protect the well-being of other wildlife as well, it is currently highly focused on opposing the 2025 bear hunt that the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, FWC, has proposed, with the FWC slated to meet August 13th and 14th in Havana, Florida, for a final vote on the hunt. If approved, the bear hunt could start in December. Sugalski, also the founder of One Protest, a nonprofit focused on exposing and confronting systemic animal cruelty and environmental exploitation, possesses tremendous expertise and experience in addressing and combating bear hunts. Indeed, the last time the FWC proposed a bear hunt in 2015, Sugalski played a pivotal role in opposing it, leading protests and other efforts, ultimately helping halt that bear hunt. As structured, this new bear hunt is marked by deeply concerning traits beyond the killing of 187 bears in the initial phase, when there's no scientific justification to kill any. And we'll surely discuss those traits with Sugalski, alongside outlining multiple ways people can declare opposition to this hunt before or at those August meetings. There's much to discuss about the bear hunt, including welcoming your comments when I speak with Adam Sugalski in just a moment here on Talking Animals on WMNF. Coming up later on today's program and extending the bear hunt theme, I'll present an encore airing of Don't Kill Those Bears, the trenchant tune recorded by local singer-songwriter Marty Fouts, offering us clear no vote on the bear hunt. We presented the broadcast premiere of that song 3 weeks ago. Also coming up later on today's show, I'll talk with Jennifer Higgins, owner of the Spice and Tea Exchange of Dunedin, about her Dog Days of Summer event starting Friday, July 4th, running through the 13th, all designed to raise funds for the Humane Society of Pinellas County. More about this when I speak with Jennifer later in today's show. Right now, though, let's talk with Adam Sugalski about the bear hunt, with a reminder that I invite you to join the conversation with your comments about the bear hunt by calling 813-239-9663, emailing dj@wmnf.org, or texting 813-433-0885. Let's welcome Adam Sugalski back to Talking Animals. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Duncan. Thank you for that gracious introduction. I appreciate that, and thanks for having me on the show to talk about this very important topic.
For sure. So before we delve into that super important topic, I think it might be useful to touch on your background. You've been on the show a few times, not in recent years, unfortunately. That's my loss. But an accomplished advocate like yourself often has kind of a notable story about what propelled them into that. What were your chief interests as a kid, and what drew you to activism?
I grew up, I think I grew up like a single parent household, and dogs were always kind of my companions. So I think that's why I was kind of very gravitated towards animals. And I just don't know, I always had an affinity towards animals, and I like to surf and being in the ocean. And I think those are some of the traits that kind of led me to kind of where I am today.
Was there any kind of injustice or occurrence that, beyond those things that you just mentioned, served as maybe a catalyst launching you into advocacy? Or
well, back in when I was in high school, I was about 16, 17 years old, and I was studying Zen Buddhism for a philosophy class, and the teacher was showing us a video. This is before the internet, and they show the deforestation of the Amazon rainforest and how the cattle industry, the meat was being shipped back to America. And that's when I became a vegetarian, because I was studying Buddhism and, do no harm. And then I'm realizing that my food choices are deliberately contributing to the deforestation of the Amazon. And so that was kind of my first, the sheet pulled off of my head, realizing, what choices I make do have impact.
And did that sort of send you on a path of just making you more broadly aware of things, even as you kind of pursued one thing or another? Because it sounded like you were in the midst of something else, and then you were caught off guard by this news about you were sort of working against yourself in terms of your interest at that moment.
Yeah, I got more involved. I helped to found the environmental club and got recycling on my high school campus back in the day. And it was like a snowball effect. And I will say one of the big catalysts for me was in 2005, I was invited to go to a Ringling Brothers protest in Jacksonville. And I didn't really know much about the circus. I mean, I'd heard about abuse and stuff, but I wasn't familiar with the topic. So I went to the protest, and, there's only like a handful of us, and it was really kind of thousands of people that you're like, they're calling you all sorts of names. You felt really like, wow, this is very intense, and I wasn't expecting that. So I kind of went back and did more research, and then a few years later, the woman who ran the protest left town, and so I was in charge of taking over the protest. It fell to me. And my background was in design, art, photography, and marketing, and so I decided to kind of like revamp the messaging, the posters, and that's kind of like propelled me to where I am today, in the sense that I started to organize protesting, very peaceful, educational, design marketing materials. I would get ahead of because Ringling Brothers had a huge budget. They were like Feld Entertainment, they're owned by Word. And so it really taught me a lot, dealing with people, different topics. And it also kind of put me into the investigation world, where I started to, go behind the shows and document the elephants, and those photos of the elephants, in behind the circus looking miserable, and the tigers pacing and whipping tigers. And I could actually talk truth to the people when I'd leaflet a lot. Like, we'd have people holding signs, but I would go out in the crowd, and, when you can kind of talk truth, witnessing that, people felt like a sense of, you're genuine, because I'm not being paid to be here. I'm here because these animals are here. And, and of course, Ringling got stopped. I think they came back with no animals a few years ago, but, I think I was a nail in the coffin for Ringling, as I like to say, because there are a lot of other people, wonderful people around the United States, doing the exact same thing I was doing.
For sure. And I remember many moons ago, on a related note, we had a panel discussion on this very show about Ringling, and you were one of the participants. And I
remember going head to head with their marketing director, and he would not let me get a word in edgewise. I remember it got a little bit heated.
Yeah, well, there was a reason he had that job, for sure. And
exactly.
I remember he was trying to suggest that the elephants that were clearly stressed out in their pens back there were just dancing to the music, and there was all kinds of crazy things. But anyway, the point is... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The funny thing is, when he was talking about the treatment of the animals, I was just at a circus, and the tigers go nuts in those poor cages. I'm like, that is just not true. You are lying. Maybe you haven't been there, or you drank the Ringling Kool-Aid. But these animals are not meant to be here. Period. And look, I mean, most people. There are a few small circuses left, but generally they're pretty much done as an industry.
Yeah, well, all those collective efforts obviously eventually did stop Ringling, at least Ringling with animals, and I think they did come back with an animal-free circus, which, have at it. I don't care about that at all, so enjoy yourself if that's what you want to do. Yeah. All right, well, let's get to our topic at hand. We're really mainly here to discuss, of course, the proposed bear hunt. And much as it's been discussed on this show and elsewhere, I know you've been discussing it in all kinds of places, I think it would be a mistake to assume everyone listening now is familiar with the details. So if it's okay with you, let's start out on kind of a more remedial level. Why, at least ostensibly, is there a proposed bear hunt?
Well, to be honest, that's the big question. Nobody really knows, because the FWC is being very vague. It's not to control population. It's not to stop human-bear conflict, which is commonly known as HBC. It seems like this is being pushed by Gary Lester, the one FWC commissioner, who's pretty much requested this after the December meeting, when the FWC staff really said there's nothing to do. There's no action needed for the bears. There's no hunt needed. And the FWC has not even completed their population study, which will be done in 2029-30. So we're asking, why would they even do this? With not the numbers, their population is not ready. The staff isn't recommending this. It's kind of a big question mark. We don't know why they're pushing this. It seems like special interest groups or people want a trophy hunt. And
it does seem like, as you noted, Gary Lester on the FWC there, he seems particularly intent on it. And I'm not even sure what kind of support he has amongst his fellow commissioners, but he just, is anybody able to sort of delve into why? I mean, I know he's a developer, and there must be some connection here, I guess, without being too cynical, but I still don't even get, like, why he is so adamant that there be a bear hunt. I mean, how that helps him in any way, professionally or personally. But he seems like the one main voice in the commission to say, yeah, we got to have it no matter what you say or no matter what the people are saying or what our surveys say or what anything else says.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at the meeting in May in Ocala, normally after they have, I mean, there's a lot of people there talking, I think over 150 people. I'm not sure the exact number. And usually after that much heated debate from both sides, the hunting community and the environmental biologist kind of the community that doesn't want hunting. And there would be a discussion between the commissioners I've seen in the past. There was really no discussion. It was like, you know, the only thing, when I spoke, I'd mentioned about how the bow hunting, how cruel bow hunting is, because hunters look for like a double lung shot, which the bear suffocates on their own blood. And if they don't get that shot, the bear can run off. They're extremely strong animals and high endurance. And I told them how painful it is. I've done a lot of research on it. Bow hunting is not effective. When you get hit with a shotgun, there's a stunning effect. With bow, there is none. So a bear could potentially run off and not be found and die, take 2 days to bleed out. Well, Sonia Rude, the commissioner, had brought it up, and Morgan Richardson, the director of hunting for the FWC, she asked him, is that true what I said? And he's like, well, not in my opinion. And then the question was, that was it. So there was no real discussion. And then Lester kind of just shut it down. We're done. Let's vote.
So that's one of the many elements of this year's hunt that seems like they've put in extra sort of concerning things. I mean, there's some of those too. The hounding. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but I mean, it just seems like they're like just ramping up the potential cruelty of what's already inherently debatable enterprise to begin with.
It's kind of shocking. This complete, like, they switched directions on a 180 from bear conservation to pretty much just like releasing the hounds, literally. Shooting bears over bait. You know, I've unfortunately gone online and seen how hunters do it, where they'll have like, these guys will go to Dunkin' Donuts and they'll get like the stuff they throw out. They'll be sitting in tree stands and these bears are eating a meal. And I watch a video of this guy zip a bear with a bow. The bear literally screams and looks around like, what happened to me? And runs off like almost like a person screaming. It's like that like will haunt me for the rest of my life watching that video. And the guy smiles like, oh, look what I did. And that is the kind of cruelty you will see if bow hunting is allowed, because bears have such a great sense of smell. There's no way you're sneaking up on a bear. So they use scent blockers. I mean, if you go to like a store like Academy, they have all sorts of blockers. Like, and then even the camo has scent blockers. So, but then they'll put treats out and stuff for the bears. The bear walks up, wants a meal, and the guy's just sitting there hidden and zaps the bear. And then the dog hunting as well. You know, I'd done a roughly 5 year investigation in Blackwater, Ocala, and Osceola, basically tracking and understanding the practice of deer dog hunting, or typically called hounding. You know, when I saw guys let packs of like 20 to 30 dogs go, they're like 9 trucks deep. They're flying around these roads, and they'll get their dogs on a deer. The dogs have GPS tracking collars, and they can see in real time where their dogs are. So they'll drive around, line up like a firing squad, and take shots at these deer. It's like this mechanized military style hunting. And now I will have to say that's not all the hunters there do that, because I have a website called thedogwars.com, and I've had a lot of feedback from it, some good, some really negative, but I have hunters reaching out to me telling me that there are bad apples in the hounding community. They understand that, but they're like inviting me to come out to go with them one day, which I don't think I will. But I've had some feedback from hunters saying, yes, there are bad guys, but I don't do that. So, but still, hunting with dogs disrupts the ecosystem. If anyone's had a dog, you know dogs like to run and chase. So if you have 10 dogs running through and there's a nesting bird on the ground, or there's a raccoon or a fox or a squirrel, the dogs might even just go after that instinctually. So it has a lot of negativity.
And if I'm not mistaken, Adam, under these rules, each hunter that's permitted to do this to begin with could have up to 6 dogs per person. Do I have that right?
That's correct. Yeah, and with deer dog hunting in Florida now, there is no limit, which that's one of the things after the bear hunt, we really got to address the FWC to regulate dog hunting, because it's having 30 dogs, 20 dogs, it's not fair chase. And back to your point, 6 dogs per hunter, but also let me step back for 1 second. There's very little regulation on any of this stuff. Out of the years I spent in the different areas, I rarely saw an FWC officer. I was only pulled over one time, had my hunting license checked because I drive there. I wear the vest. I do not interfere with hunting. That would be illegal. But, nothing says that three hunters could not join together using 6 dogs. So, then you have 18 dogs potentially, because there will be no checking for that. There will be no, they're not going to be out there making sure people aren't joining groups together. So that's another thing. You can multiply that depending on how many hunters go together.
So, it seems like, as much as it's puzzling, because the first question I asked you about the bear hunt is the $64,000 question, which there doesn't seem to be an answer to. But on top of that, they seem to be putting in other measures that make it more horrific, kind of, for the bears. And yet they don't seem to be, from what I can tell, at least, open any sort of compromise on the hounding, the bait, the no check-in points, which maybe we haven't addressed. Maybe we should address that too.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. They keep saying this is a science-based hunt. We are science. They literally, if you go to their website, everything are highly regulated science-based bear hunt. Come on, look up the dictionary, for regulated science-based. It's the opposite. There's no check stations, rarely enforcement. Are they saying they're going to be putting more FWC officers in the woods during this time? No. And the hunt's going to be over a month's period. And it's the honor system. Okay, I'm going to kill a bear and I have to call it in. Well, no, you don't have to call it in. How are they going to know if you killed a bear or not? Yeah. There's a term up in the North Florida called shoot, shovel, and shut up when you have to deal with a nuisance bear. And that was from, I think Shove said that when they were going over HB 87. Oh, no, yeah, HB 87 about where you can stand your ground and basically killing bears. So it's not science-based when you don't have any kind of checks or balances. And that's why we're hoping in next month in August during the meeting in Havana on the 13th and the 14th that they will pull some of these rules out. They will check this. They will have a real honest discussion, because what they're doing now is you could be signaling the end of black bears in Florida as we know it. And I'm not exaggerating this. What they're doing is so bad. And I don't know if you know about the private land too. If you have X amount of acres, they're basically be having private, you can buy special bear hunting permits now. So it's almost setting up for these canned hunting operations, bear hunting in Florida as well. So
it sounds like it's kind of chaotic and, again, fewer safeguards than the bear hunt of 10 years ago. And it sounds like more of a recipe for a lot of killing of bears if this proceeds. The bear hunt that you helped with 10 years ago, it was quickly reached their quota, as I recall, and then it got shut down. But, I don't think there's any limit like that in place here. So this especially because there's no way to count or calculate, despite all their protests of being scientific based. Just basic math doesn't seem like it even applies in this case.
No, you make in 2015, I was at Check Station 17 in Lake City. And as you know, I think that, there was groups of us called bear monitors, and then we were at each check station. And when a bear was killed, we call in a central number. So we were counting bears, matching it with the FWC's number. And in one of the BMUs, which is a bear management unit in the Panhandle, they were supposed to kill 40 bears. They ended up killing 114 or 12 bears in 24 hours. These bears were basically people's deer feeders in the backyards. They weren't a threat to anybody, and the hunters knew where the bears were ahead of the time. So when the bears came in, they shut that BMU down in a day. So on Sunday, I went back to Check Station 17, and by the end of the day, I think it got to 289 bears. And, Chuck O'Neill was kind of the leader about calling the numbers in and dealing with the FWC. And he called the FWC, he's like, call the hunt off, you're going to go over the quota limit. And they did. But without those checks and balances, can you imagine what would happen if none of us had been there? We haven't been coordinated, working together, holding this agency accountable. They would have gone way over the quota limit. And that's just a fact.
And aren't we heading towards that scenario now, if I follow the way this is working with, again, those safeguards and disregarding some of the things that were in place at least 10 years ago, for better or worse?
Yeah, and the thing I think they want to get away from is the public almost embarrassment, because the first photo I took at Check Station 17 was of a lactating mother, and shotgun blast to the neck, and that photo kind of went around the world. It was featured in a few papers over in Europe, and I know in Australia, and it was strange. Even I remember the show Whale Wars. A captain from the Whale Wars ship, not Paul Watson, but one of the captains, he called me, a filmmaker, and was congratulating us on exposing the bear hunt, which was kind of shocking. That he was like on his own, doing his own mission, but the story had gone viral in a sense around the world because of photos like that and other photos that people had taken. So, but now without this, we won't have access to the bears being killed, and so there's a huge question mark at this point. They want to kind of just sweep it under the rug. We know what we're doing. You don't know anything. We're in charge. We're the FWC. Trust us.
Yeah, a little hard to trust them at this point. But
it is.
But for people who may have tuned in a bit late, let me just let folks know this is Talking Animals on Duncan Strauss's WMNF. If you did just tune in a bit late, my guest is Adam Sugalski, a longtime advocate, and we're talking, of course, about the proposed bear hunt, which the FWC makes its final vote on in meetings August 13th and 14th. If you'd like to ask Adam a question about the bear hunt or offer a comment about it, please call 813-239-9663. Email dj@wmnf.org or text 813-433-0885. So, pondering kind of why this seems more free form and kind of chaotic in terms of, again, the fewer safeguards and sort of anything goes approach to this. I can't help but wonder, not long ago, as many, of course, people know, there was a fatal bear attack on a human, and the first one in Florida's history, which was kind of a surprise to, I think, many people. But how has that fatal attack altered the discussions of the bear hunt, or has it influenced them in significant ways?
I think, I mentioned this, was talking to somebody about this, and because they asked me that question, and I think for the people like myself that know about bears and know that they're not like bloodthirsty. I mean, the fact is one person's been killed by a bear in the history of the state, just in the recorded history, goes to show you that they are not dangerous animals. And it's very unfortunate what happened to that, that there was a fatal bear attack. But I think the hunters definitely like to use it as an opportunity to, the bears are coming in, they're everywhere. You're seeing a lot more bears in general. People move into these areas where they're near bear habitat and they're not putting their trash away, and they might have a Ring doorbell camera, which a lot of people do now, which maybe 10, 15 years ago, you didn't have all these cameras. So there's so many cameras now. I think that's part of the why we're seeing an uptick in seeing bears and the people not securing their trash. But I do think hunters are using this as like, yep, time to get the bears. But me personally and other people I've worked with, it's sad, but it's like, this is no reason to have. This is more reason the FWC needs to step in and do with bear-proof trash cans and more bear-wise education, because those kind of steps will reduce interactions like this happening again.
All right, I think we may have a call. Let's see about putting some of their voice in the conversation.
Good morning. My name is Sabrina. The new Trump administration has changed the Medicare policies for your state of Florida.
Okay.
We have to check the benefits.
Sorry. That's not really bear hunt related, although it sounds interesting nonetheless. So, again, though, if you would like to express your viewpoint on the bear hunt, more specifically, again, you can call 813-239-9663. You can email dj@wmnf.org or text 813-433-0885, or any questions, obviously, about the bear hunting you want to pose to Adam. That's all the best ways to reach us at the moment. So, so some people, I think, at this point, consider the hunt kind of a foregone conclusion. Are they being too cynical, or is that kind of sadly realistic? It does. There is that sense of impending doom just dealing with this kind of topic a lot. And but if I was a betting man, from what I've seen the last meeting, if I was going to gamble, I'd probably say there would be a hunt. But for me personally, and I won't give up to the last, kind of go down with the ship no matter what happens. For sure.
And even if they do have a hunt, we'll keep fighting. They're not going to get rid of us by doing this. And one thing I think the FWC commissioners need to realize is the ones who vote on this, it's going to be tied to their legacy. They will own this for the rest of their life, because this will have consequences on bear population throughout the state. And it's not just, we're voting for this. They will be tied to that vote, and they'll be reminded that they were tied to that vote. That had an unregulated hunt pushed by special interests. There's no reason. Bears have not reached maximum carrying capacity in the woods. They don't need their numbers whittled down. it's just a trophy hunt. And so, we're hoping, between now and then we can get some discussion with the FWC commissioners, because we feel like it should be a democratic process. One of the things I bring up in a lot of interviews is hunters like to hide behind that they own conservation. And I want to say, I'm not anti-hunting. I don't hunt myself, obviously, but I'm not, if you're hunting to feed your family, these are different topics. This is a very different than for trophy hunting. But hunters like to hide behind the Pittman-Robertson Act, which I think was a 1937 excise tax on firearms and ammo. And what that does is all that money is put into like a pool, and then it's spread out the United States through hunting education, promoting hunting, conservation. Well, years ago, the hunters probably did put the majority of the money into that fund, but now it's not the case. I mean, you can just go look it up. There's the majority of that money has come from basically called non-consumptive users, non-hunters, like myself. I'm an avid tactical shooter. I build my own firearms, and I shoot a lot, and I put probably more money than a lot of hunters do into the Pittman-Robertson Act. And people who have a handgun for self-defense, they put money into Pittman-Robertson Act. And there are far more people like that than there are hunters. And I really get sick of hunters keep saying, oh, we do conservation. No. If you want a gun or you shoot, you're putting money into conservation too, even if you don't hunt. So that's the narrative that needs to be shifted, because they keep bringing that up. I think that's an important thing to talk about, that they like to think they own conservation, and I don't understand why. Maybe back in the day when it was started, they were the ones doing it because they wanted to conserve these species enough to kill them. Conserve them, then kill them, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be what this kind of number is. Because my concern is if it sounds like you think the hunt is likely to go forward, and it sounds like the initial number, as I recall, is 187 that the bears that could be killed if it started as it's slated to, I guess, in December, if it does proceed.
Yeah.
And but the thing that makes me nervous about that, that's awful to begin with, of course. But I mean, once that kicks in, if I understand it, then there's other hunts that will follow behind that don't need to be discussed or debated. Or please tell me I have that slightly wrong.
Yeah. So if this does go through, basically it'll fall to the executive director. So the FWC commissioners won't have to deal with this anymore. And that's another thing. They don't want to deal with this anymore because, back in 2015. When we documented the bears being killed, and then we had the statewide protest, and then in 2016 we had the 28 city protest. It was a shock. I don't think the FWC knew it hit them. We kind of came out left field. It was like a great grassroots, so many wonderful people. Like hell, it was an amazing feeling. All these people coming together for this cause. And I remember being in the FWC meeting in Apalachicola, and Chairman Brian Yablonsky, he really says, he was a tiebreaker vote. He says the agency, they didn't want to deal with it, and hunters have a lot of hunting opportunities. And the hunt was pretty much called off to all the public pressure. This time, I think with what's going on now, they want to get rid of that. They want kind of the executive director, and the FWC kind of gets marching orders if you work there. I had one guy come by my table at Veg Fest when I was leafleting, and he worked for the FWC. And he's like, I work for them. He's like, oh, I said, do you want to talk to me? He's like, I'm not telling you my name, but there are a lot of people in the agency that do not want this, but they can't say anything about it because they a fear of repercussions. They don't want to kind of orders come from the top down, and they get marching orders and they have to follow them. So that'll be up to the executive director.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to get to a few emails that have come in. One says, I'd like to add that UCF conducted a recent survey on behalf of FWC, which ended up showing 74.1% of Floridians oppose this bear hunt and only 25.9% support. Out of self-identified hunters, 7% do not support the bear hunt. FWC has said this hunt is not intended to resolve human-bear conflict, and that only following bear-wise practices will accomplish that. One of the main reasons given for the hunt is to allow hunters the opportunity to hunt a renewable resource.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's a perfect. I'm glad they brought the point about the
thanks for that email. Yeah.
It's a very good point. And that's the one thing I always get they call bears a harvestable renewable resource game species. This semantics game they play. It's like, how do they decide these highly intelligent sentient beings? Bears, studies come out that's saying they're equating bears to almost intelligence of likes of great apes. These are smart, incredible beings walking our planet. And with habitat loss, we should be doing everything we can to ensure their survival on our planet, not going out. I mean, there really needs to be this paradigm shift of mentality of some of the hunters, why would you be doing this? I know hunters, I have hunter friends, but they're deer hunters, and they're they're kind of against this. But in the hunting community, a lot of hunters, it's like kind of the fraternity, thin blue line. Like, you kind of like, you won't say anything against your fellow hunter. And that's a known fact among hunters. So they're not going to be vocal about it, but they're not going to go out and hunt a bear either.
Yeah, geez. All right, Adam. Well, I want to get to a few more emails and a few more of my questions for you, obviously. But one of the things I want to do now, and hopefully, again, maybe towards the end of the show, is offer people suggestions of how they can speak out and try to stop the bear hunt to whatever extent that's still even, a possibility. So let's talk about the meeting on August 13th and 14th. That's in...
Havana, Florida.
Right.
It's a little bit north of Tallahassee. It's where they had a meeting before. It's at the Florida Highway Patrol Training Center. We do encourage people to go there. I know it's a trek. We'll be there to speak out. And we also will be staging another statewide protest. We're finalizing the date before the meeting. So that's another thing we'll be, on our website. So I encourage everyone to go to beardefenders.org. We have a petition to sign, how you can email the commissioners. And that's where we have a centralized call to action of what you can do to help. And we do encourage everyone, to send emails, send a bunch of them, just send more than one, like make your voice heard. And
should those go to DeSantis or the FWC Bear Comments address, or both, or what do you recommend?
I would say
what's most effective, I guess, is my question. Hard to say.
At this point, it's hard to say. We think just email both of them, email the FWC and DeSantis, and raise as much noise as possible about this issue. All
right, so you can find this, I think, on the Bear Defenders website, but the FWC email that's pertinent to this is bearcomments@myfwc.com, and to email DeSantis' office is governorron.desantis@eog.myflorida.com. So... but again, I think it sounds like ideally if people can show up at the meeting August 13th. Are they both days, 13 and 14, as far as you know?
We're waiting for them to release the agenda because a few days ago, they're supposed to release an agenda. What day, what topics are we talking about? So, we hope they release it sooner than later. So it gives people an opportunity, because I'll be taking off work, going up there myself. I know a lot of other people will be. So, and we'll put in, we constantly update our website. And also when people sign our petition, we send updates through the petition about letting people stay tuned to what's happening.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like if people showed up and really made it clear that they were opposed. I mean, one of our emailers noted the survey results, and it seems like there's all kinds of things like that. I think a lot of people that were at that meeting in Ocala in May, I think from what I gather, at least, there was people opposed to the bear hunt, outnumbered the pro bear hunt people by upwards of 2-1.
Yeah.
So why do these numbers keep being so lopsided, and yet the FWC just says, yeah, we hear what you're saying, or we don't hear what you're saying, but either way we're proceeding? I mean...
I think they kind of have that, it's a hubris of we know we're doing, you're the little people, listen to us. And, after the 2015 hunt, I think, that was kind of a debacle, even though they say it was successful. And so why are we supposed to blindly trust this agency now when they're kind of going against, they're going from conserving bear to opening the floodgates, every kind of hunting imaginable with the dogs, the private lands, the bows and arrows debate. That's where it's unbelievable they're doing this.
Right. It's not only, hey, we're back with this, but this is a much worse version of the one 10 years ago, if you can imagine that, which seems like just kind of an extreme, in-your-face kind of approach.
Yeah, it's like they had, wildlife's supposed to be a trust for all people. It's like hunters do not own the animals and the wildlife, and that's what it kind of gets me. It's like it's a trust for the public to take care of, and it should be a democratic process. And we, all of us, like the emailer said, 75% oppose this, and that's a super majority. So you would think the FWC commissioners would be like, well, bears aren't overrunning the forest. I could see if bears are overpopulated and there had to be a hunt, I could see having a very, some states will do hunts where they hire professionals to go out and do it. They don't actually have hunting. They hire professional sniper teams, basically. And if that was the case, I could live with something like that. It was scientific
it's
based.
Like a call at that point, right?
A call. Yeah. They had to have it, but there is no need for that.
Yeah. Well, again, the FCPC folks really just don't seem to listen to the constituents. I read somewhere, and maybe you can verify this, Adam, that at the December meeting, the FWC's own wildlife biologist did not recommend a bear hunt.
Yeah, Mike Orlando recommended no action. There was no action to be needed,
Yeah. So, I mean, if they have experts at their disposal, why not listen to them?
Yeah, I do feel, because Mike Orlando's a very, I've spoke with him before. He's a very nice gentleman. He really cares about bears. He does. And sometimes I feel like, I wish he would have, at the Ocala meeting in May, I wish he would have got out there and spoke and been able to answer questions. But it was almost like we talked early in the interview, it was just it was shut down with very little conversation back and forth. And, I would much more have more faith in the agency if Mike Orlando went up there and would, push back against the hunt and say things. But sometimes I think, they don't want to. I don't know. I don't know what's going inside his brain, but, it's unfortunate that he can't be more of a presence in these meetings about bear hunting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like that's his job and that's his bailiwick. It seems like, why have a resource like that on the FWC if you're not going to listen to him when something pivotal comes up?
Yeah, I mean, and you have like Gary Lester. What does he know? How is he a wildlife expert? He's a developer. And, one thing, a few years ago, we were stopping a spring bear hunt in Washington State. And they have a commission like here. And I was actually shocked at their commissioning, because I'm so used to dealing with the FWC, which doesn't have biologists or conservationists on there. It's like land developers, hunters, and their commission, there was like biologists on there. And I remember it's like on this call with the commissioners in this big, like it was a online meeting, the commissioners were openly arguing with each other, like having really heated discussions. And I really haven't seen that here. I hope the commissioners that are against this put their foot down and take a stand, because like I said, their legacy's on this. They own this if they vote on this.
And is your impression, Adam, that, I mean, Gary Lester, it just seems like he's single-minded about this, but do you get the sense there are some or many fellow commissioners that feel as Lester does, or is there still a chance to be voted down?
There still is a chance, from the last vote. It's hard to tell, but, that's why we want to have conversations with them about, like, Sonia Root is in Jacksonville. She's the commissioner. And I'm trying to set up a meeting with her. I like to sit down, because the hunters go out and sit down with the commissioners, and the lobbyists do. So, I'm going to try to have a meeting with my commissioner in my area and be able to discuss, because she's the one who brought up about the bow hunting, and really sit down and talk about what dogs will do to the forest and the ecosystems, and how we'll terrorize bears. Like, imagine when bears are foraging, sometimes the moms will kind of hide their cubs somewhere. Well, if a pack of dogs run through and the mom's not close enough, she might just instinctually run. And what happens to the dogs and the cubs? They get into a tussle. So, and that's potentially a problem.
It just sounds really bad the way this is headed. But let me read one or two more emails here. Clearly they want this to be an annual recreational event. Killing 187 bears is like trimming a bush to obtain more growth. The population will rebound, as always happens in nature when vacancies are caused. So that's one of our emailers.
Well, bears have what's called delayed implantation, and it's where when a female bear gets pregnant, the eggs will kind of sit up in the uterine wall, and depending if there's like a lot of food or sparse, she might have more cubs, depending. Like I said, if there's not a lot of food, she might have one or two or none. If there's a lot of abundance, she have 3 or 4. So, nature has this baked into it. We don't need a bunch of guys out there unregulated killing these animals when it's not necessary. There's that trimming a bush, that doesn't make any sense when the bears regulate their own populations. And the fact that their land is shrinking, but they still haven't reached carrying capacity.
Oh, jeez. All right, here's another email. Thank you for this awesome guest. The bloodlust is incomprehensible. What do we do to stop the bear hunt at this point? Hunting with arrows, dogs is so horrific. So we've touched on ways people can register their opposition to it, and we'll come back to that. But it sounds like really, in some ways, for one-stop shopping, as it were, just go to beardefenders.org, find out all that information, how to contact people, where to contact them, the petition, and next steps, basically, are all at beardefenders.org, right?
Yeah, we also have, we have like an FAQ and a myths versus facts, and it's good for people to educate themselves on like what the hunters will be saying. and what is the truth about like bears, how they had delayed implantation and other types of things, so they can educate themselves. So if they do have discussion, because I welcome open discussions with the opposition. I mean, that's the only way we can kind of maybe find common ground and learn from each other. But so our website has resources like that on it.
For sure. Again, this is Talking Animals on WMNF. I'm Duncan Strauss. My guest is veteran advocate Adam Sugalski. We're discussing the proposed bear hunt. The FWC makes its final vote on the hunt in meetings August 13th and 14th. We're talking about all kinds of aspects of the hunt, including ways you can register your opposition to it. And we have a few more minutes with Adam here. So you're invited to join the conversation by calling 813-239-9663. Email dj@wmnf.org or text 813-433-0885. So I don't know if you want to talk about kind of a shrewd strategy that I've heard that some advocates and activists are employing to sort of try to neutralize or mitigate the hunt, assuming it does go forward. Yeah, you probably know what I'm referring to.
Oh, the tags, right?
Yeah, buying the license, I guess, basically.
Yeah, that was, actually my friend sent me an article from the NRA made an article about that, about buying the bear tags. I do want to make a point that the hunters that are listening to this, I don't think they realize, but these private landowners basically can get permitting if they have X amount of land. And those permits could be taken out of the 187 pool. So this is looking like more of could be a rich man's hunt. So your average guy that is a lottery system. So a lot of people can buy into it, and then someone gets a lottery, but it's different. If you're a wealthy landowner, you can actually just, get the permits. And this is a big kind of gray area. We don't know if those permits for the landowners will be taken out of the pool. So these guys who want to hunt bears, they will be competing against the rich guys who have all the land.
So in that way, is there an unlimited number of permits then, really, based on the people with the land kind of basically trumping, so to speak, the people that are actually in the drawing officially?
Well, that's one of those issues now where we're internally we're going through all this. There's a lot of like the regulations about the new hunt. So that's something we're digging into because it's kind of vague right now, and we don't know if that's the case right now or not.
Okay. Well, anyway, geez. All right, we have maybe about a minute or so left. Adam, anything in particular you want to emphasize in our remaining time? I mean, I think we've emphasized the horrors of this and unfortunately kind of what seems like, I'm sorry to say, inevitability of this. And we've heard from some nice emailers
the only I like to say I don't, people shouldn't give up, and we're not, at the end of the day, we're not the ones going out to kill these animals. We're the ones trying to protect them. And I think I want to thank all the people out there that have emailed, did the protesting, because without everyone out there doing this, this wouldn't be happening. I mean, a lot of what I've been doing is a grassroots effort, and without the people holding signs, emailing me, wanting flyers. And we also have flyer downloads on the website too. People can download, print out. When I took my dog to the vet, I handed flyers out, and the vets were like, yes, they put the flyers all over the table. So there's a lot of little things you can do, and that adds up. So I want to thank everybody out there, and don't give up. And if we do lose in August, we'll still fight. There's still ways to fight this, and but just stay hopeful.
All right, so even if you can't get to the meetings on the 13th and 14th, sound like there's plenty of steps you can take. And I guess you could just send unlimited emails in the meantime while doing other things and handing out flyers or whatever. There's any number of ways you could get your view known on this. Let me take one. I'm going to try one more last-minute call here. Probably run out of time as a rope. Let's try it. Hi, you're on Talking Animals, Adam Sugalski.
Hi, yes. So I caught on the show kind of late in the end.
Okay.
But I've been following, the campaign to protect the Florida black bear. And what I've noticed is it seems like it's all in the hands of these commissioners. And it's very frustrating because we can say all we want to say, and they're still, they've got their mind made up, then we don't have anything to say. Even if the majority of the population of Florida doesn't want the hunt, then the commissioners, have all the cards.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to say that...
We can do all the talking we want, and it's just not going to do anything.
Well, I don't think we'd go quite that far. I think Adam's point is don't give up hope, and keep trying everything you can. If you can be at those meetings, great. If that's not practical, there's flyers, there's emails, there's steps you can.
I can, through emails, and
okay.
I email the commissioners. I signed the petition. I mean, to me, anything in writing should be enough for the commissioners to understand.
Yeah,
I mean, she's right. I hear her frustration, and trust me, I'm right there with her. I mean, I don't think people realize I have a full-time job on top of this, and so I'm doing all this stuff.
I know. I know.
It's frustrating. I'm with you. I hear you, and you're right. But just it's like we have to keep pushing forward and keep doing. And you never know what could come up, and maybe getting commissioners to change your minds. I feel like that myself sometimes, so I understand.
Okay, ma'am, I'm so sorry. We're actually over time now, so I'm glad you got to voice your opinion. But thank you so much for your call, and keep doing all your great work.
Thank you. I will.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So, Adam, we have reached the end of our time, and then some. But we've been speaking with Adam Sugalski, and again, beardefenders.org is the place to go for other information and flyers and how to contact the FWC and register your disappointment there and. DeSantis and every which way you can, and facts and myths and other information. It's a great website. It covers everything you need. So, Adam, thank you so much for all your great work on behalf of our bear friends, and thanks for joining us today on Talking Animals.
Thanks, Duncan. I appreciate it.
Thank you. In a moment, I'll speak with Jennifer Higgins, proprietor of the Spice and Tea Exchange of Dunedin. She created a multi-day campaign to raise funds for the Humane Society of Pinellas County. She called it the Dog Days of Summer. We'll hear more about it in just a moment on Talking Animals on WMNF. Right now, we're going to hear Don't Kill Those Bears, the wonderful song by singer-songwriter Marty Faust. We premiered 3 weeks ago. Here it is now, Don't Kill Those Bears by Marty Faust on Talking Animals on WMNF.
Don't kill those bears, don't you do it. It's just your trash they're trying to get to it. They were here before you and me. I guess the state of Florida is only free for the two-legged types who'll just bitch and gripe about a bear getting in their trash, you see. Don't kill those bears. I'm asking, what the hell is wrong with you? Can't you see they're trying to get through their day just the same as me and you? Now we are the ones invading their home, not the other way around. But some with a gun, they think it's fun chasing some poor defenseless bear around. Don't kill those bears, Mr. Governor. This is all in your hands. I'm sure folks could find another way besides killing a bear to let them feel like a man. The rules have changed. Let me get this straight. You want to let the hunters use dogs and bait? Oh, well, that's pretty cold, but I'll pray for your soul. But I hope it's not too late. Don't kill those bears. Don't you do it. But you'll do what you want, so screw it. Now the bears are unarmed, but you'll do them harm. So I'll sound the alarm from cities to farms. The FWC is going along, it's just like they don't even care. But I'm begging you all, don't kill those bears.
That was Marty Faust with his great song, Don't Kill Those Bears. Kind of a message, obviously, of today's show primarily. And that's on Talking Animals on WNF. Right now, to switch gears, though, we're going to talk with Jennifer Higgins, who owns the Spice and Tea Exchange of Dunedin, and has put together a multi-day campaign called the Dog Days of Summer, designed to raise funds for the Humane Society of Pinellas County. Let's hear more about that by welcoming Jennifer Higgins to Talking Animals on WNF. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us on Talking Animals.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to talk about the dogs in Dunedin.
Cool. Well, let's get to that one sec, but just give us maybe the nickel tour of the Spice and Tea Exchange of Dunedin. Tell me about the store briefly.
So the store, we sell loose leaf tea, custom blends with herbs and spices, salt, sugars, and peppers. And it's the interactive store. You can come in and open any of the jars, and it's like aromatherapy when you walk in. So it's fabulous.
Wow, sounds great.
It is. It is.
So I take it you're also a pretty serious animal lover.
I am. I have had dogs most of my life and cats most of my life. So, yes. And here in Dunedin, for anyone who's been here, they know how much Dunedin loves their dogs. So where there are dogs in the store all the time, the dogs come in, they love the smell. So Dunedin's a very dog-friendly town.
Well, that's great. And so what prompted the idea for Dog Days of Summer?
So I won a prize, which was a publicist helping me put an event together. And we were trying to think of what would be a good event. And what felt really right is in Dunedin, it's slow. It's locals mostly. And the Dog Days of Summer. And we have partnered with the Humane Society of Pinellas County for the last 2 years in different things. And it just all fell into place. It's like it was meant to be. So it's been a blast putting it all together.
And that's great. Did you have a relationship previously with the Humane Society of Pinellas County? Like, did you adopt one or more animals from there over the years, or?
I have not, but I live in Pasco, so coming to Pinellas County has been fun to explore a lot. And they were having an event at one of the parks very close to the store. And I walked up there and met with some of the people and was very impressed with what they're doing. And we're all about doing local things with local partners. So it all fit together.
Well, that's fantastic. So tell us a little bit how this works. So
sure. So we will have things that people could donate in the store. We're also going to donate some of the sales of things like our iced teas on certain days. We are going to have a dog photo booth, and I don't mean a literal booth in that we're going to put a dog in the booth, but we're going to have a way for people to come and take pictures with their dogs, and basically for the price of a cup of tea, they can and we'll donate that to the Humane Society. They will get to take home a picture with them and their dog.
That's great.
And we are people are posting, and they've already started sending in their pictures of themselves with their dogs. We have some contests.
Where are they posting those pictures?
To our Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook.
Okay, so it's the Spice and Tea Exchange of Dunedin Facebook page, not the Humane Society of Pinellas. Okay, just to clarify.
But we'll tag each other. And then the last thing that we have is we have two baskets that we're raffling off. Our sister store right next to us, the Great Giftsy, has donated a huge basket of dog-related stuff, so people can buy tickets to that raffle basket. And then we have a Spice and Tea Exchange themed raffle basket.
Wow.
So there's lots of ways to donate, and it's going to be a blast. We just put out front a dog stick library, and a dog has already taken a stick and left the stick this morning.
That's great. It's getting good action right off the bat.
It is. It's so fun. Yep.
Well, so here's my last question, Jennifer, probably is, where are people that are maybe driving around hearing about this saying, hey, this sounds great, but where can I find the information about how I donate for this or post a picture for that? Is there a website or a social media page where people can find all that laid out?
It is all out on our Facebook page. So it's on our wall of our Facebook page.
So you just go to Facebook, search for the Spice and Tea Exchange of Dunedin, it sounds like.
Yes. That's
great. Well, this sounds like a really nice thing to do, and I assume maybe next year we're going to have the Cat Days of Summer?
That would make me very happy, as my two cats. Sure, we'll.
Okay, I'm going to stay tuned for that. Maybe we'll talk about that next year then.
It's a date. It's a date.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jennifer. Thanks so much for supporting the Humane Society of Pinellas County with a cool idea. Appreciate it.
And thanks for helping us get the word out.
For sure. All right. Thanks again. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Coming up on WNO, it's The Conversation, the great show hosted by Mario Nunez and Joe Kane Carter. After that, it's The Scoop, WNO's brief news recap. Then we shift back to music programming with Sam Ball, holding forth from 1 to 3, followed by Nancy C., hosting the Wednesday Traffic Jam from 3 to 6 p.m. Then it's John DeBrule, the Sound Safari, followed by Step Outside from 8 to 10. and beyond. There's so much great programming coming up here on WMNF, so I hope you'll just leave right here on 88.5 for that. We have just about reached the end of today's edition of Talking Animals on WMNF.org. Hope you'll join us next Wednesday at 11 a.m. for more of the same, and stay tuned for the conversation coming up after NPR News headlines. Talking Animals, WMNF Tampa. Thanks.